Hello and welcome to Fire in the Belly. Today we have myself, Mighty Pete, and we're joined by Chloe Hurst. Good afternoon, Chloe.
Good afternoon, Pete. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming on. So, Chloe, tell us where you're calling from today.
I am currently in Burnley in the northwest of England. I'm
Excellent.
currently sat in my parents' house.
Brilliant. That's it. Because where are you from originally? That's Burnley is your home place, yeah?
Burnley, born and bred, yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. So tell us, who are you? What do you do?
So I am Chloe Hurst. I am literally, Pete, this week registered as the happiness helper.
Ooh.
That is me. So I'm a happiness and life loving coach, is how I'm titling myself.
So the happiness helper. What's the mission? Tell us, give us a bit of background to it.
The mission, I have actually set this now, but making people happier, Pete. So my mission currently is to make as many people, well, I've actually set 10,000 people happier by the year 2025.
Nice. I like it. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Deep question, but how do you define happiness?
Very good place to start. It's been so interesting because I've been doing so much work into really digging into that question, what it means for myself. Obviously now I'm a coach as well, so really looking into how to teach that and kind of strategies in it. And what does it mean? Yeah, I think everyone kind of says it's different for different people, and I think it's just the recognition of that. And what makes us happy isn't necessarily happiness, if that makes sense. So although you might do a lot of things that make you happy, actually overall it's wider than that, isn't it? It's not just these little pockets, it's the whole picture. And I just want to get people really comfortable with what that means for them, because I think it's something that people don't kind of reflect on a lot.
Can you give us an example there? I mean, separating happiness and being happy. Can you explain how they might be different?
So what I've kind of found from talking to people is like what makes you happy can often be quite specific things. But when I'm talking about happiness as in like life happiness, there's so much more to that. So for example, I love surfing. Surfing makes me happy, but I don't get all my happiness from surfing. Do you know what I mean? So that's why it is really interesting to say what makes you happy, and then what is happiness. And I think I'm kind of coming to the thought of like that inner contentment and kind of living in that space rather than just kind of an accumulation of all these things that make you happy. Just being quite like at peace with yourself in your life. Gone deep already, Pete.
Well, listen, I mean, as I said, it's a blank page, so we go where we go. So, I mean, you've mentioned there peace, you've mentioned contentment there in collaboration with peace, in collaboration with happiness. I mean, are they all intrinsically linked?
Another great question. I think I've just found like I say, I've been doing kind of a lot of research and like quite deep analysis into myself. And just to say at this point as well, the whole reason I've kind of gone down this avenue is the recognition of how happy a person I am and that I've kind of lived through my life of everyone saying you're such a happy person, why are you so happy and positive about everything? And digging into that, it is a feeling of contentment, yeah, being quite happy with yourself and everything that's kind of going on around you.
Where does that happiness and contentment come from then? You're saying if it's what's going on around you and your view on it, where does that come from? Why not feel sad?
That's the other thing as well, actually, Pete. It's like recognizing you're not happy all the time. Like life doesn't work like that, and things happen all the time. And to not really, not worry about those negative emotions, not worry about feeling sad, but really like being quite in touch with yourself to know that you're sad because something's happened. You're not sad because of just like someone bumping into you or just an accumulation of just a general feeling of stress or something like that. Just really being like quite comfortable with how you feel. And I think that's something that people get quite out of touch with, or can just live in like quite a state of okay.
Is that not most of the population?
Potentially, yeah.
It's interesting you've embarked. I mean, what sort of made you take the next step in terms of, just accepting it as a way of life, and then but actually going the next stage? Is there a particular reason?
Yeah, I want to say it was an epiphany, but probably too big a word. But I was on a personal development course last year, and this is going to sound very cliche, Pete, but it's the truth. The activity was to write down what you want from your life. So you're looking at your life as an 80-year-old, and it's looking at what do you want your life to have looked like. And when I wrote it out, I realised that I wasn't kind of on the trajectory of that path, and the theme that kept coming up, I think maybe 6 or 7 times, was this theme of helping people, and like helping people be happier, and helping people like see their value and see what you can get out of life. And I'd never really thought about that being like part of a mission at all. I kind of felt like I am that person, just generally like day to day, friends and family, and it never struck me that actually that's where I want my life to go. Quickly after that, my friend got a life coach, and her words were, "She tells me everything you tell me, but I listen to her." And it just made me realise, like, one, I'd never heard of a life coach, and two, it was just like, yeah, I'm going to take that as a sign because that seems to align. I looked, into life coaching, and to realise it was a profession was a bit of a like revelation for me, and to really dig into it and to think that could be something that I can, put my hand to now. Literally that day, I signed up for a life coaching course, and it then became my mission to do that, and I just found so much like drive for it, and just realised how much I wanted to pursue it and kind of make it my purpose, and it just motivates me massively. The more I've been doing it, the more I just want to do more of it.
Oh wow, that's awesome. I mean, do you enjoy, is it the communicating with people, or what part is it that you actually enjoy in the coaching?
So I'm really at the beginning of my journey, Pete. So this is my first podcast, as you know, and like I say, just registered. So all my stuff at the moment, which is amazing, is quite a lot around the research side. So I'm now certified. I'm ongoing with several courses, which I don't think will ever end. I think I'll always be on some kind of course. I've come to learn that. But also doing a lot of market research. So at the moment, I'm talking to as many people as I can to really answer that question, like you're saying, like, what is happiness, and trying to get to that, where are people at now, and what is it that they're striving for, and then to use the strategies that I've got, whether it be from my profession or whether it be from my life coaching experience, or anything I can develop further to really help people with that. So at the moment, that research is all women, young women, professionals primarily, just because I can relate to that, and just assessing where they're at and where they want to be, and helping them get from A to B, basically.
Well, in your mind's eye then, where do you see in terms of meeting with somebody and what you can do with them? So what sort of journey do you see you can take them on?
It's quite transformational, really. In my mind, kind of the bigger picture, when I say helping people, it is the span of people, and I don't want to exclude anyone. But right now, I know I've got to narrow that down to really get really confident and comfortable that I'm delivering that thing that those people want to therefore bring it out further. But the big change, I think, and it doesn't necessarily, I wouldn't say change, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a change. I think a lot of what I'm actually trying to get at is the things people really want deep inside that might never come out because life might just get carried away, time gets carried away, and they get, I want to stop people getting to kind of midlife crisis as well. That's like a bit of a thing in my mind, that the thought of people getting to a point where they have so much regret and so much time has passed, and that it does kind of frustrate me in that, you know, when you meet some people and you want to like shake them up and I don't mean in a negative way at all. I mean, if someone really wants something, I want them to be able to do it, and there's a lot of things that hold people back within themselves that they don't actually realize are there, and I want to bring that to life and make them realize that actually there's a lot more in their hands than they think, and there's a lot more they could do to help themselves and live the life that ultimately they want. And I kind of have this idea of die with no regret, and I know it's a bit like, oh, a bit strong, but actually it is all about that, because that's what got me in that picture, in that headspace of looking back on my life in my 80-year-old self and thinking, what do I want? And I want others to feel like that, so they don't get to, 80 and think, oh crap.
I get it. My father's headstone, there is the saying is live life with no regrets. So I think you're bang on there. It's an amazing exercise to do and to follow through. I mean, could this be a midlife crisis for you?
Doesn't feel like it, because really what's happened, again, I don't want to sound too cliche with this whole thing, but my life is just, I've had an amazing life so far, kind of thing. This idea of happiness, I do feel like I've kind of got happier every single year. I've not actually had a blip, I don't know if that's the right word, but it just feels like it's kind of just been compounding. I've been so lucky in so many ways. I know I've made my own luck, but I do feel kind of very privileged in, being here, being in the family I'm in, having the friends I've got, and there is a lot to say for circumstance as well. So I can't consider myself a midlife crisis, absolutely. And if I was in a midlife crisis, I don't think that I would be doing this, because I think that's another thing that kind of gives me the confidence in, I don't want to say being the expert, because that sounds stupid when I'm talking about happiness. I'm not the expert in happiness. But coming from a place of, I am that person, I'm confident in being that person. I'm confident now that I'm learning how to pass on and kind of give those strategies to help other people in that remit. And I am that person, like deep within. I'm trying to phrase this well. Like at school when you've got teachers and they're teaching you about, business as an example, but they don't have their own business. They don't, they potentially could be quite unfulfilled in what they've done, what career they've chosen. And the more I've reflected on where people kind of tend to get their advice or expertise or training from, it feels like not always from the best areas. It's just the way the kind of structure's been set up in society, that's where we go to. Similarly with degrees as well. And actually that's just been decided that's how that's going to be structured, modules and delivery of those people. But actually that's why I do feel comfortable and confident in becoming the happiness helper, because that is part of me. That's who I am, and yeah, I feel comfortable to help people through that, because I feel like I'm coming from a place of expertise. I'm not the expert in happiness, but I've got a pretty good grip on it.
Well, you follow the 10,000 hour rule, where after that you can sort of take the title of expert. You know,
Oh,
10,000.
I've not heard of that. I'm going to look in that up.
So 10,000 hours of any subject makes you certainly professional, if not the expert in the field, you know, which is interesting. So
I'll be getting there.
how do you maintain that? Because I mean, well, two questions, I suppose. One is, do you have a contrast in your life in terms of, you know, some people say, well, I'm pain or pleasure driven. That's, I want to be happy because I used to be really sad. Is that the case with you, or is it a case of just I've always been happy and that's just the way I am and that's the way I go?
Yeah. So again, it's really interesting because I've really been working, like kind of researching a lot around that idea of being motivated by pain or pleasure. I don't have this messy pain situation that I've like come through and worked through and developed through. I have just kind of lived in my own bubble of happiness and, and made that work year on year, like I say.
So Chloe, tell us what's your core values and what's fundamentally is top of the tree for you?
I say happiness, is that a bit cringe?
That's an obvious one, I would imagine.
It's got to be. Yeah, definitely that feeling of happiness in terms of a value and something within me and something I feel like is important for me to kind of share as well. Optimism, don't know if that's a value, but absolutely optimism. Positivity, like the thought of I'd far rather be disappointed by something than expect the worst and just think, oh yeah, I was right. That's just not part of me. Love, connection, you know, it's all about people. Yeah, that might sum it up, to be honest. That's another one. In drive, maybe something about drive or integrity, like, you know, always kind of striving to kind of be the best for yourself and for other people as well.
Why would you want to be the best for yourself?
Why wouldn't you want to be the best for yourself? No, I think it's quite funny because I have been doing a lot of kind of research into myself and really being quite like self-analytical, and when I dig in, I don't know where that feeling comes from. What I've definitely always kind of given everything, like kind of always given 110%. And I think it's just a feeling of, if I'm going to do something, might as well. You know, I wouldn't say that for like the cleaning of the house, definitely not. But kind of everything that kind of has that meaning, then yeah, I'm always seem to have strived to be the best, and not the best out of anybody, by the way. Like I say, it's the best that you can kind of do, or I can kind of do. Yeah, I'm not saying it in a frame of competing with others. That's kind of something I fundamentally think is a bit of a problem in society, especially at the moment with kind of social media and comparison and how in your face it is. And I think a lot of the things I've been looking at, especially kind of looking into millennial issues, if I can call them that, is around this idea of perfectionism and comparison. And yeah, I think I don't know what it is, but kind of the societal norms of not just being happy for others, or just that idea of wanting to have everything. If you don't have everything, you're sad about it, rather than just thinking, I could go back to that idea of kind of contentment, I guess, and gratitude for what you do have rather than what you don't have.
I mean, just out of curiosity, do people get you? I mean, or do they sort of almost reject it and go, "You're far too happy for me"? Is that possible?
No, I've never had that. I've never had that. I mean, I do my husband's head in because he's always, I won't let anything be a negative. and it does his head in sometimes. So it's just like, just let me be annoyed, like if we're in traffic, for example. He's just like, let me be angry that there's a traffic jam. It's like, well, no, what is the point? Don't get me wrong, I'm not like this superhuman. I don't want this to come across. I'm like never sad. Obviously not. But kind of taking everything with a kind of pinch of salt of thinking, I probably do it maybe a bit too much, but like, you know, worse things could happen. And the concept of, you know, it's really hard for every day to just put yourself in the, again, I'm just trying to think how to phrase this, but it's really hard to put yourself in perspective of the world. I know that's quite a big thing to say, but actually when you think about the world and the people in it and where you fit within it and how like lucky and privileged we are, you know, just to be part of, you know, just to be living in the UK, that kind of stuff. It's just, I kind of want to live with that gratitude of where I'm at all the time. And I do get a bit frustrated when people are so far away from that all these little things really get to them. And I just think there's no need to be like that, because there can be so many annoying things that happen in the day, but it doesn't mean you have to have a bad day. Like, there'll always be something good in it. And yeah, that's why I'm on a mission to to spread that bit and help people with understand how they can feel more like that. Definitely.
It's interesting. I mean, you're coming across as very kinesthetic, so very much, you know, how you feel, how you know, your touch, your senses, you know, on that side. And I'm just wondering, does that resonate with you, and does that sort of play through that, you know, you're kinesthetically biased?
Potentially, yeah. I am a doer. I don't know if that kind of goes with that, but I'm very much about kind of seeking the fun and the adventure and getting out there. And yeah, I'd say that, especially outdoors and stuff like that, I'm definitely that way inclined. Adventure's my thing for sure.
I love it. So I was going to say, before we get into it, we've kind of already got into it, but what does fire in the belly mean to you?
It's funny because if we were having this conversation last year, it probably would have been just that, the adventure side of life and getting fun out of, you know, or anything like that, you know, going on adventures, camping, being outside. Now I'm just kind of over-consumed with what I feel is my purpose, and my fire in the belly has become the happiness helper. And yeah, just like, I don't know, sharing like a zest for life. I don't know if that sounds a bit cringe, but it's true.
No, listen, I mean, we all have our passions, and thank God we're all different, you know, and that's great. It takes that contrast, it takes that, you know, and sharing that with others. I mean, what would that mean to you, to be able to sort of see that?
What would it mean for me to see the impact of it?
Yeah, and to sort of feel people around you, you know, sort of you being able to assist them.
That is what I feel like I'm here to do. Oh, I'm coming out with all these cliches, Pete. I don't know why this is yeah, it feels like a bit of fulfilling a purpose. I feel like I've been so grounded. I know we touched on it before, but kind of this feeling of, you know, each year getting better and better and kind of happier and happier, and just really seizing life and being able to help others feel that way and kind of look forward to each year, each day and week and whatever it adds up to. I couldn't think of anything more satisfying than that, to be honest.
That's
That'd
awesome.
be amazing.
And do you see yourself of having to almost protect yourself, because obviously some people don't feel this way, and you know, very different view on life, you know, do you see yourself having to sort of have a guard or a preservation as such?
Completely. And I think it's something I've become quite recently really comfortable with, and that sounds strange. There was a point when I actually looked and I thought about that question in my head, and I thought, actually, there is so many people that will not get this, will not buy into this, will think this is a load of rubbish, and they're so kind of set in their ways, it doesn't resonate with them in any way, and there's nothing I can do. And that kind of was like a bit of a fear factor. And then the more I've kind of got into, like I've said, really getting comfortable, market research, really delving into the issues people have, the goals people have, and how I can help them. Actually, I'm serving those people that want that thing. I'm not serving the ones, I'm not trying to break people down and change their whole life mantra and the way they are. That is not me at all. I want to help the people who kind of have this, aspiration. Maybe they're firing the belly Pete and teasing that out of them and making them live in that. So yeah, now I've got really comfortable with not trying to, help the nation and change everyone. I feel a lot better about it, and I know that, yeah, that's my mission. It's to help the people who actually want it and can see the benefit and deliver that value that they want, and get really comfortable with what I'm delivering by actually finding out what people want, and really, I wouldn't say scientifically, but kind of proven in how to make that happen for people. So yeah, I feel I don't need to make the world happier, I just need to make the ones who want to be happier.
Yeah, I mean, it's the old adage of you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink,
Totally.
People have to help themselves.
Yeah.
And do you think, do people need to be at a certain stage, or do they need to, where do they need to be for you to be able to help them most?
Oh, help them most. I want to say that and I genuinely do believe it, in that if there is somebody who just wants to be happier, I do think I would be able to get to a route. Yeah, like I say, with confidence, but I do genuinely believe that there will be things I can unpick that can make people happier. But people most is probably that idea of time passing and them thinking that they were going to maybe have achieved something by a time, or be somewhere, or have got to a kind of a level that they had in their head, but time's passed and they've not got there, and they know that if they don't get there, they won't have this kind of idea of fulfillment by, the time they're whatever age, I don't know. That's the kind of thing that I think is going to resonate with a lot of people, and where I can really tap into it, because there is a lot of proven strategies where, you can help people with their goals and put things in place. And at the end of the day, a massive thing about coaching and why it is a thing is because just people need that person. People need a bit of an accountability, and as much as we'd all love to be that person for ourselves, we don't care about ourselves as much as we should do. And having someone, whether it be every week or every few weeks or every month or whatever it is, having that person to be accountable for, and then teaching them how to be accountable for themselves, that kind of check-in point is really, really valuable, and I'm really learning that and understanding it. And it's like anything, it's like having a partner to go to the gym with, or anything. Life's better with other people in it, and we can help each other. Like, I think people do understand the concept of needing help and asking for help, but when it comes to stuff like life goals, apparently we don't need help for them, they just happen. But not always. Not if you forget about them, or you don't spend the time in thinking how you're going to get there.
I think that's so true. People get accountants to help them with their taxes, solicitors to help with the legal stuff, dentists to help them with their teeth, doctors for the health, and yet, when the overall mission comes to it, you're saying, I'm all right, thanks.
Totally. But we don't realise that, I think, and that's kind of where I'm at as well, in realising that we are so busy all the time. We are connected to things all the time. Our phone is always on. It's the first thing we look at when we, wake up, and the last thing we look at before we go to sleep, a lot of people. And this idea of like constant connection, it's draining. Like, it's quite a new concept for humans to be with and live with. And I think that we're in this weird transition, should I say, with technology, in that we haven't learned how to disconnect from it and actually take that time to just reflect and just actually catch up with ourselves and think, right, where am I at right now? Where do I want to be? And what do I need to do to get there? And we actually feel, well, this is what I'm learning, actually feel quite guilty about doing that disconnection. Like, we should be busy all the time. We should always be doing something. You know, you can't stand in a queue without looking at your phone now. Like, there's just nothing where you've just got that time unless you have made a very conscious effort to give yourself that. And I think now, especially, like I say, kind of the technology catching up with us, and, you know, I don't have children myself, but people with children potentially, you know, checking in on their phones whilst, you know, it just removing from family time, and them not realising kind of just how important the present moments are. And I say children, but to be honest, with, you know, family and friends, and you can go to restaurants and see everyone on the phones together, and it's like, well, you might as well be not together. It's kind of losing appreciation for what's actually happening, and what real life means, and having true connection with people. And yeah, I think there's several aspects to it, but I think technology just sort of quickly developing has, I want to say, a bit to blame for that. I'm
going to put you on the spot a wee bit.
Go.
If you were to come with like a happiness formula, what would you?
Ooh.
What factors would you take into account?
Happiness formula. Well, I'm going to start with that then. Present moment. Really kind of being present. And I feel like it's a bit of a, I don't know, it seems to come up a lot at the moment. I don't know, we are kind of moving into more of a well-being, wellness, you know, there's a lot of mental health awareness that's going on and stuff. But being in the moment, I think, is a big one for people to take away, because at the end of the day, that's all we have. You know, it's just present moments compounded by present moments, and that becomes our lives. So I think that's a big one. Really living in the moment, not being distracted when we don't want to be. Formula for happiness, but you have put me on the spot. How do I phrase it? Societal norms, and being okay with being different to that. I see a lot of people looking at others and just always striving to be different to themselves. And it's really sad if you think about it, because where you want to be is you want to believe that you don't want to be anyone else or want anyone else's life. And I think a lot of it is actually kind of not, well, it's not reality. A lot of people don't actually know who someone is or how they're living or what they're doing day to day, but they're striving to be that other person and like comparing their lives to theirs. And often, for example, like like I say, a lot of my research has been on like young women, and they're just looking at Instagram reels and thinking like, I want my life to be like that. And it's like you're seeing a picture and maybe a picture a day. Like, you don't know what their day's been like. They might have been spending all day taking that picture. Like, you have no idea. So definitely something around that, in terms of being able to remove yourself from societal norms, in terms of accepting, you know, being what you want to be and not what you think you should be. Gratitude, I know that's come up previously, but absolutely being grateful, whether it be, you know, and I do mean making it an action. I don't just mean, oh yeah, gratitude. I mean actually thinking about it, actually giving yourself the time to be appreciative for what you've got. Whether it be, you know, something you read when you wake up, or writing down what you've been grateful for when you go to bed, whether it be a journal, even if it needs to be in your phone. Just making time to actually live in that day, and think about what's been good about that day. Yeah, I think that's really, really key, and something we forget, because like I say, it's, you know, our lives are just made up of days upon days. So if we're not appreciating those, then what is the point in striving for the next thing? I think they feel like quite key when I say them, those three. Anything else?
I mean, I'm taking some of them as, you know, it's understanding of the present moment, so your current attitude as such, you know, and that side. The other one being then values of, you know, your interpretation of the outside world and your perception of those as well. You know, so how you value yourself, you know, and then, I mean, I love the gratitude. Is that something you practice, gratitude?
Gratitude, yeah. Well, I say funnily enough, quite recently through coaching is when I made it a more conscious thing. I think I did, well, for a while, I feel like I'm admitting something here, Pete. I have a note in my phone, and I don't know, I can't quite remember what sparked it, but I've had it for ages now. And it literally just tells me how lucky I am. This is sounding crazy when I say it, but it's just got all the different aspects of my life that I'm so thankful for. Kind of all the experiences I've had, the family and friends I've got, my husband, the job, everything, all of it is just in that, how privileged I am to be where I am, to live where I live, to have what I have. And I can now recite that in my head. I've read it that much. Sometimes I do it when I'm exercising and stuff like that. This is, anyone listening might be like, what a weird thing to do, but actually it is really fundamental, because like I've said before, why would you want to strive for more if you don't even appreciate what you've already got? And now I've like kind of become really familiar with that thought, life is even better. Because I feel like, why not? You know, I feel like it's okay to want more than you've got if you're fully in appreciation of what you do have. And I feel very lucky, and I feel very lucky in how I am and how I act and what I have and who I have. And yeah.
I mean, you're so right in that, and you know, people don't even get the fundamentals, the basics right, and yet are off seeking other accreditation, other sort of inputs, when they can't even sort out, you know, the old adage of, you know, sort out your own backyard before you comment on someone else's, you know. But I think you're so right in that. Really makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
For you, I mean, you mentioned that you love surfing. Talk to us about that.
Surfing. So I've always been an adrenaline junkie. So I'm going to tell you a few now. So when I was 11, my brother got me on a mountain board. I don't know if you've heard of this, Pete. It's like a snowboard with tyres on it. And you go down mountains on it. It's like man-made tracks, and it's very dangerous. And I got into that. I was probably actually more like 9 when I'm thinking of it, about 9 or 10. And I was just absolutely hooked on it. Just loved the adrenaline. It was just super exciting. I was pretty fearless. I was quite a tomboy when I was little. And it just felt like this amazing thing to have discovered, and something like obviously none of my friends at school were doing. It was quite a small sport, and I absolutely loved it. And there was like regular competitions, and there was quite a community around it, and that felt really cool as well. I think that kept me really interested in meeting different types of people, and really kind of opened my eyes at a young age, rather than just staying in like the town you're in or the area you're in. So I already kind of had this board sport idea, and then got into my teenage years, and my brother got older, and then it stopped. But then met my now husband, and he was like, oh, let's try that. So we got back into it, which was amazing. And so then he became a bit of an adrenaline junkie as well. And since then, it's been mountain boarding, it's been mountain biking, it's been surfing, snowboarding. Just when I say adventures, there's been a lot. And I've got to say, yes, coming back to surfing, it's probably the most. Surfing's amazing. I'd recommend it to anybody. I mean, you're literally in the ocean. Like, it couldn't be a simpler sport. You've got what they used to have as a plank, and you just sat in the ocean waiting for waves that are being, created. It's just unbelievable. And just being in the ocean, I just absolutely love it. A bit different being in the UK Ocean as opposed to, Sri Lanka, Bali. They've got to be some of our favourites. But wherever we are, we do always aim to be in that place where we can surf, because we absolutely love it. We spend hours and hours and hours in the water, and I never thought that those would be the kind of holidays I'd want when I was younger, like adventure holidays. I thought I was a sunbather. But now we don't go anywhere without kind of the adventure aspect, and mainly that surfing. Yeah, the feeling of surfing, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like, yeah, fulfillment, contentment. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Are you naturally drawn to the water?
Yeah, I'd say so. I've always been a bit of a water baby. My dad had a speedboat. My granddad had a speedboat. We used to go to Scotland every year, and that was just playing around on water skis and donuts and stuff like that, and just going for that. And then mum and dad had we used to holiday in Newquay in Cornwall, and again, water babies. So yeah, I've always been, like I said, the outdoorsy person. And when kind of discovered surfing, it was incredible. Like, it just felt like something that had to be in my life, and it has been since that discovery.
It's amazing. I love that, sort of that feeling of, how would you describe the feeling? Is it?
I say freedom, is that extreme? It's just, yeah, I don't know how to describe it to you. It's amazing. And what's kind of annoying is when you talk about surfing, people go, oh, I've tried that. Yeah, I'm rubbish. Yeah, I was rubbish. You don't get good. You're never just good at surfing. No one gets on a surfboard and it's just like absolutely amazing on a surfboard. And like, for example, the first time, I'll tell you this story. So I sorted out our wedding. I did all the planning for our wedding, and my husband did all the honeymoon planning, which he booked us a surf camp for 2 weeks. That was his idea of our honeymoon, which was amazing, but I'd never surfed before. So it was like, all right. I mean, absolute winner now, but at the time it was like, what? So before our honeymoon, we went to Cornwall for a week, and he taught me to surf, but I didn't get to my feet. I'm not exaggerating. For the full week, until the last day of surf before we had to come home, and I stood up and I got about 5 waves in a row, and it was the best feeling ever. But I'd spent all week hours and hours and hours in the ocean, just paddling on my belly, like just falling off all the time, like. And so the thought of that, when people say, oh, I've tried that, I'm rubbish, just like, of course you're rubbish. Everyone's rubbish at something when they've like never done it. And I just wish that people had a little bit more, of like growth mindset type thinking, to think, actually, I could get better at this and it could be amazing, because less people should dismiss surfing as an option, because, yeah. it's awesome. Do it. Whoever's listening, do it.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, having a known with a passion, that sort of connection to a sport or whatever is always awesome. Take us right back, though. I mean, talk to us about your upbringing, your family, and things like that.
So, upbringing, fun, carefree, happy, secure. Like I say, from that lucky aspect, I've been super lucky. Born into an awesome family. I've got a brother and sister. We're all super, super close. And just, I have a terrible memory, but all my memories of my childhood are just very much, just kind of give me a warm, fuzzy feeling in my belly. Just that kind of carefree feeling. And something I've been thinking about quite recently is I did realise how much of a luxury it was when I was growing up to be so carefree. And I think some people don't, especially as you're kind of getting into your teenage years. I was still very much carefree, didn't really care about what anyone else thought, was just doing my own thing. I did not want to be in with the cool, popular kids, just being daft, just having fun, just, making stupid videos or just being silly like kids should be. And I really, quite vividly remember realizing that was a stage of my life that I really had to embrace, because I didn't have those responsibilities and I didn't have anything to really worry about, even if it might have felt like it at the time. I really did appreciate that. So yeah, my childhood was just full of fab, fun family times, awesome friends all through my life. And then bam, age 15, I met my now husband. So that threw a bit of a spanner in the works, and it was just, again, not to be totally away from society, I'm not like a rebel or anything, but it was just that acceptance of, I might be 15, but actually I know that this is, the love of my life, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make that work. And it was just, we got married. I was 20 when we got married, and some people just think like, wow, especially now, it's just not a normal thing to get married so young. But there was just kind of no doubt around that, and a lot of what we did and the kind of life choices we made were to just make that life for us and make it work, and get married and whatever. And then quickly after that was the opportunity to go to Oman, and that's when, which again, away from societal norms, I went on my own, and that just raised a lot of eyebrows of why would you do that. And people didn't really say people, it wasn't really recognised as a team decision. It was thought of as, I don't know, not selfishly, but it's something that I just wanted to do, and I was going to do it. It wasn't thinking of it as a wider picture. And people, I did have quite a few comments where it was like, do you really know what you're doing, and that kind of stuff. But it was, one of the best decisions we ever made. It was absolutely amazing. And quickly, a year and a half after I was there on my own, I was planning to come back. And then my husband came out and he loved it. And then he joined me out there, and we just lived the dream. It was insane. So, sometimes, always, it's easy to just live in the comfortable life and not rock the boat and not go against what anyone's kind of advising. But sometimes it just absolutely pays off to take the risk and do that, and absolutely no regrets on Oman whatsoever. And what a place. Again, another recommendation is get yourself to Oman, because it is an absolute hidden gem. I know people, think of the Middle East potentially somewhere that they'd never consider. But Oman is just an absolute hidden gem. It is just so unspoiled, and the people are absolutely wonderful, and getting a real appreciation of another culture. I just feel so much more enriched as a person to have experienced it and lived with those people and fully immersed myself in the Oman way of life, which is vastly different to here and very special. I feel, again, very lucky to have experienced it and feel much better for doing that, definitely. It kind of brings me to now, Pete. That's a bit of a life story there.
Absolutely. It's out of curiosity, what's your earliest memory?
Earliest memory. It's one of them. You don't know if it's because you've seen a picture or what, but there's a picture of me completely naked in my dad's wellies, and apparently I was walking up to the park like that, wild hair. That just feels like that's how I felt inside as well. That was me, little feral child, just doing what I wanted.
And who do you take after, mother or father?
Oh, good question. That is a very good question. I wouldn't know. I really wouldn't know. Aspects of both. Definitely aspects of both. Yeah, good question. I'll think on that.
It's always interesting how, people, because if you have significant people, or even, would you have a hero or someone in your life that you would very much look up to?
Oh, that's a good question. Heroes quite hard, and I don't want to say my husband, and if he listens to this, he's like, oh, great. But and we are completely a team, but he does definitely feel like a hero in my life in the way that he's just such a significance of drive, and he does literally inspire me to do things. And I do put a lot of my achievements down to him, because he's, I don't know, how do I describe it? He's going to listen back to this and be like, why did you say I was your hero?
Well, okay, let's change the wording. You can have somebody who's an inspiration or someone who's been had a big impact in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just thinking of things, but yeah, he's got to be that person. I've got to also give it a thought for my latest boss, who I didn't think that was strange, but he was like a true leader, and he really, looked deeply into things and was really striving to be a good leader, and really looked into how to be a good leader, and it was really important for him to be like that, and because of that, he was a really good leader. And he was like kind of the perfect balance of making you accountable, but also taking the rap for you as well. And I learned so much because I felt like I was so free, but I was also so secure as well. And I've not really come across that previously. And to me, that does feel very inspiring and quite heroic, because I think a lot of people don't dig into what they really want to be and want to become. And he was someone who absolutely, that was his drive. He wanted to be a good leader. And so he put a lot of time and effort into making sure he was, and really holding himself accountable to that. And that massively rubbed off on me, and I developed, with his leadership massively, and it, learned a lot of life lessons through that. So yeah, he's got to have a bit of a shout out there, my hero.
It's amazing. What sort of qualities in a leader or an inspirational person do you see, and what is it that stands out for you?
think it is that balance of kind of passing you the responsibility, but then also them being accountable, but not in a way that, you know, you can do what you want and not put the effort in. It's very motivating to think that they're willing to take the rap if something is to go wrong, but you've also got full power. And actually just being very familiar in like knowing how you are, knowing what you want. Yeah, not just taking you at face value, actually getting to know the person, and digging that little bit deeper, because I think that is something that people could do a lot more of, actually getting to know what drives a person, rather than just going with a kind of generic, this is how I've always done it, and I'm, you know, this is the type of person I am, and I'm just going to go about it like that. Like I say, doing that research and really developing yourself to be as good as you strive to be.
It's interesting to say. I mean, if you were to come up with, I don't know, a set of rules or mantras or commandments as such, you know, for, you know, sort of a happy life, I mean, how would you, you know, what would you include in that?
Mantras for a happy life. Ooh. That's hard. A lot would be similar, you know, what we spoke about with the kind of concoction of what makes a happy life. But I think it's that thought and reflection. What do I want? It is different for everyone, so you can't answer that question for everyone. I wouldn't even want to answer that question for everyone. But people inside know what a happy life looks like for them. And whether it be that exercise of, you know, stepping into your 80-year-old self and saying, what does that person want? Even if they have to do a literal task, then do that. But looking at yourself through those goggles, I think that's what it is. It's what do I want, and then what do I need to get to that, or to be that. And yeah, I've got to just tie it back though, that appreciation. If you don't appreciate it in the day-to-day, then there is no point striving for that, you know, big goal or whatever it may be, because it's just so momentary. These kind of achievements and goals and success, even as a word. Yeah, there's no point. If you don't appreciate it, there is no point to it. So there's definitely that aspect. But yeah, really tapping into and spending that time reflecting on what you truly want, I think, is just the key to everything. Everyone's different.
What would success feel like for you?
Success. It's really hard, because a lot of what I've kind of been teaching is around this idea of success, and because we're always striving for the next thing and always in anticipation of the next thing, we never end up feeling successful, even though the next thing I could say to you, for example, Mighty Pete, when will you feel successful? You'll tell me, and then I'll ask you when you've achieved it, and you won't feel successful then either. It's just it's the acceptance that it's growth. I like to teach that a lot of us, you know, we've had successes in our life and therefore we are successful. Anything you add to that is just kind of compounding the success. For me now, a real big kind of goal of that success, I mean, I've got to say now, I do feel successful. I feel like I've achieved a lot. I couldn't sit here and tell you how happy and great my life's been every year on year and not say I've not been successful, because yeah, I do, and like I say, I like teaching that. But success, kind of my next level of success, shall we say then, and what I really am striving for is that idea of freedom, to be where I want, when I want, and kind of do what I want when I want. Yeah, that feels like a big kind of next level of success for me, and something that feels important out of just, you know, if I want to spend time with my nieces and nephews or whatever that may be, just being able to do that. You know, being able to spend time with my friends, being able, you know, be where I want. If we want to go and spend time in, you know, surfing for a couple of months, do that. That feels like something that would really, like I say, be that next level of success for me. But as I say, I'm very happy, very happy with my everyday now too.
I'm curious with the sort of ongoing floating theme, you know, between, you know, freedom, being out on the water, to being able to travel where you want, when you want, you know, to even, you mentioned with the you know, with the downhill boarding, you know, is that ability, you're sort of slightly out of control, it is dangerous, but you love it, and you know, just so I'm curious, it comes across as a spirit, you're very much designed to be sort of out and loose and sort of let go wild, because you described yourself slightly as feral, or the words were feral, whether you described it to yourself or not, I don't know, but so it's interesting that sort of theme seems to run through all the content, the sort of contours of your life.
Yeah, that is quite funny. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way you played it back to me, that is, you know, that idea of a free spirit, and just feral, feral maybe being one of them. Yeah, that idea of freedom, being outside, is definitely a massive part of what I want to do, and like I say, when we're away, when we're on holiday, wherever we are, outdoors is such a big part of that. It's where I get a lot of my enjoyment from.
I was going to say, I mean, leisure and pleasure, what is that for you? I mean, you may have told us already, I'm just curious.
Again, outdoors, whether it be walking, biking, just fairly recently got into triathlons, probably about a year now actually. But again, that was quite goal driven, because it was let's do a half Ironman. A half Ironman, which is absolutely crazy. If you don't know what that is, look it up, because it is crazy. So that drove that. I think that's another thing as well, you know, when I said about surfing, people thinking, oh, I'm rubbish at that, I've done it once and I'm rubbish at it. But like with triathlon, I got on a bike and I was like, this is the worst thing in the world. But then I had a goal and I pursued it, and then it evolves into a passion and something you start enjoying. Not everything just rocks up as this like, oh, this is insane and amazing. And I think some people could do with hearing that because sometimes it's the persistence that's key. You know, you can't just try something once and know if it's for you or not. And I would I just want to recommend to keep tapping onto that. But yeah, for me, again, that leisure pleasure would be outside, time with family and friends. Adventure, and I keep coming back to that, but it really is that idea of adventure and doing new things and keeping variety in your life as well, whether it be places or, you know, people, I guess, or experiences, just really mixing it up to kind of get a breadth of different things in your life. That's definitely been a bit of a theme for me.
So going in then in terms of actually being able to sort of help people, I mean, what sort of process, or how do you sort of communicate and sit down with people in terms of working through your sort of coaching?
So again, just going back to the idea of programs, I'm going to get very clear on like my methodology to work people through, and that methodology I think will be very similar for different kind of pockets of people, because ultimately I have a bit of a formula in mind, but it will be quite bespoke to kind of what the issues and goals are to where they would like to be. And like I said, for example, I'm doing my market research to really make sure I'm really comfortable in getting them from where they are to where they want to be. So it does look like I say, different for different people. My vision is that I'll be able to do this for any spread of people, right down to kind of, you know, children, because I fundamentally think that with school programs and curriculum and things, there's often a bit of a spin on like how not to be sad, strange as that things, how not to get, you know, how not to be a bully, how not to, you know, not how to be happy, and how to, you know, get the career you love, and how, you know, there's not that spin on it. It's very much, and especially now, and it's something I think is, you know, very fundamental, keep saying fundamentally, very important, is the awareness around mental health. But then I think there's a level beyond that, which is, it's not just, you know, not having a lot of mental health issues. It's actually what's that next level of what you're really aspiring to in your life, and that yeah, like I say, level of happiness that you want. There doesn't seem to be that focus on that for young people, and that'd be something that I'd love to see more of, definitely.
It's interesting because, I mean, you know, in the language you've used there, I was saying you'd love to sort of work with young people, and you talked kind of about your avatar clients, almost a younger version of yourself too. Is that something, is the younger person, you know, is that something you would like to have had in your life, or do you think it's something you naturally resonate to?
It's quite funny. I think the actual children's side is definitely because I recognise kind of how the school system is not focused in that area, and I think there's a lot that could be done with that. And I think the earlier you get people, the better, I'd say. Because why not kind of put that into place, like I say, avoiding that midlife crisis, shall I say. And to be honest, the young women's side is, I'm 26, and I can totally resonate with other people of my age, and that's where I can get a lot of my confidence. And because I've been around that age group, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel very connected to them. I feel very familiar with the issues they've got and kind of their aspirations. So it really resonates with me in where the kind of problems are, the kind of things they want to overcome. And then when I've nailed that area, I can then grow on that, and like I say, get those programs as confident in my other programs as that, for whoever may approach me and want that next level of happiness.
Interesting you use the word confident there. I mean, do you think there's a connection between happiness and confidence?
I was probably using it more for myself, just in terms of the I've always wanted to kind of deliver that value, whatever means that may be, before I got into coaching. So I definitely want to be really confident, literally, that I am delivering what those people want, because otherwise, I don't want to feel like a fraud. I want it to be, I'm quite process driven, and I'm quite systematic and kind of scientific how I look at things, and if I'm not getting the results I want, that would just cripple me. So I'm just doing everything I can to make sure that I'm confident in getting those results, and that's what I mean about that confidence side. But coming back, it is a good question, because does confidence mean happiness? I think confidence in yourself and your being and who you are as a person, I think that's fundamental to happiness, because if you can't love yourself, then I don't want to say you can't be happy if you don't love yourself. I wouldn't agree with that, but I think it'd be a missing piece of the jigsaw, shall I say.
I'm quite curious about the dichotomy here, as if that's the right word, in terms of, you talked about your programs, you talked about structure, and you talked about the scientific approach to it, and yet your core values are freedom, sort of optimism, and that side. So it is interesting that you come through, but you're also very tactile as a person. So I'm curious to how you learn and how
That's
you
funny.
communicate.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Pete, because by profession, I'm a project manager. So I think that hones in, and that's where I've got a lot of my expertise, and I see the value in process. And I am, kind of how you pulled out, naturally a very creative person. And it's not that I've been suppressing it as a project manager, that'd be the wrong word, but it's that time element, and having that time and really teasing that out has been really, really good for me to see. But then crafting it back into that kind of strategy piece on, there is things, and I want to link it back as well to that idea of getting others to help, because there's expertise everywhere, and why wouldn't you draw on that? We don't know everything. How can we know everything? There will always be people better than us in different specific niche areas. So why not pull that in? Don't start from scratch. And I think that is where I've got this kind of structured approach. Obviously, everything's going to be tailored for everyone because everyone's different, as I say. But again, it's knowing that when I put people through these programs, they are getting exactly what they want from it. And that is important to me. And I believe that I can set that structure up, and I'm pretty certain on what it looks like, to make sure they get there. And yeah, my project management experience has definitely given me that guide.
I love it. Yeah. So it's almost, but that's true as well, because I mean, in so many things, and I'm thinking about Ikigai, this, the Japanese sort of formula where you can be good at something, but it doesn't have to be your passion. But it doesn't mean you're not good at it. And vice versa. I know for me, property is, I'm very good at property. Is it my passion? No. But actually, one can actually feed the other and allow it to happen, so they can be harmonious. So
completely.
If we were to be a fly on the wall and see either your sort of brainstorming process or your handwriting and your note taking, what would we be seeing? Are we lines? Are we structured? Are we bullets? Are we crazy all over the place?
No, everything's a brainstorm. Everything's a brainstorm, and it's actually funny hearing me speak about how process driven I am, because I'm working through a lot of everything's everywhere, and I'm really trying to hone it in. But sometimes it's part of the enjoyment of just getting things on paper and it being a bit crazy. And yeah, if you were a fly on the wall, you'd see a lot of paper, a lot of colours, and a lot of words.
I love it. That's great. I mean, but that's true, because I mean, you say you talk about yourself as being quite creative as well.
Definitely.
Is that your happy place?
Yeah, but I've got to say, Pete, I've not been drawing on it for years. It's quite strange. I mentioned before, when I was younger, I used to make a lot of videos. We'd do like gimmicky music videos, to like voice dubbing songs and just being daft. And I was really into that, really into making films, like short movies and stuff. My husband's a singer-songwriter. I'd make like music videos for him. There's always been elements where, I'll tell you, my room was just covered in, my mum and dad let me go wild, literally covered the walls in whatever I wanted, was painting all over it. It looked a mess. And I think that was me. It was just, it looked horrendous. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not a good artist at all, but the creativity's there, like, yeah. But again, just the past maybe 5 years, been very much into kind of career and adventures every other time within that. I haven't been that creative, and it feels really nice to now, be tapping back into that and spending my time focusing on that again, and realizing how creative I actually am with things, and making it work into kind of this higher purpose that I've found myself in. And that feels really, really nice.
Yeah, it's an interesting, I suppose, from even the surfing point of view as well. When people are free and their creativity flows and it's just wherever it goes, and that's great too. So it's always interesting. Again, slight change, and I'm going to keep changing the subject on you. Happy go-to song?
Everybody's free to wear sunscreen. You heard it?
Yeah, what's it? I mean, it's
I think it's Baz Luhrmann. I think it is.
It's like, yeah, that's got that. Well, now you're going back a bit. That's 15 years ago.
Probably. Yeah. That's just one. It's just good to crack out. I feel like I kind of live my life by it. When I heard it, I was like, "This guy's nailed it. Why is everyone not living by this one?" Yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, to be honest, anything that makes your kind of heart feel a little bit warm and fuzzy, that's what I'm after. Good vibes.
Guilty pleasure?
Ooh. Guilty pleasure. That's a hard one. Oh, chocolate. It's got me absolute overindulgence on chocolate to the point where me and my sister gave it up for a year for charity because it got that out of control that it was such a big challenge to do that. Yeah.
Okay, let's get specific here. What sort of chocolate?
Oh, anything. Absolutely.
You must
anything.
have a go-to. We all have go-tos.
I mix it up. That's the problem. I like every type. Anything with chocolate on it. It can be any food product. If it's got chocolate on it, I'll probably love it. So yeah, I'm just
Dark
learning.
Chocolate, milk chocolate?
Milk.
Milk chocolate. And is there a specific brand?
I'd lean to dairy milk.
So dairy milk, are we talking plain, or do we like nuts in it, or raisins?
Favourite's going to be that Creations where they just shove loads of sweets in it and jelly stuff in it. Yeah.
Just Russian roulette on the chocolate wheel.
Yeah, totally. Anything. I tell you what, these lockdown quizzes, some of them have been chocolate bars. Guess the chocolate bars. I've been smashing those. They're the only quizzes I'm good at.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So tell me, bucket list for you. What's on there?
Oh, bucket list. That's a good one. There's so much. There's so much that I feel like I need to curb it, but a lot of it is focused on my business at the moment, and really that is a massive bucket list for me. In that the idea of success is that I want to have those programs. I want to be able to kind of infiltrate. I want to be the go-to person, Pete, when it's like, you need the happiness out there. I want to be that person that people are referred to because, you know, they know that I've got things to help. So yeah, that's a massive one. In terms of kind of personal life, more traveling, absolutely love it. Getting variety in that, you know, where we go, spending time, different cultures. Like I said, I've really realised the importance of doing that and getting a lot of value from that and kind of enriching myself with different cultures. But yeah, bucket list. Again, if you go back to me brainstorming, there'll probably be about 100 things on there that I want to do. Yeah, we'll just have to see.
In terms then of you know, goals for you going forward, I mean, do you map out your goals and your plans and where you're going, or what way do you vision that and you feel about it?
Good question. I was quite rigid in the beginning, to the point where I think it was actually detrimenting my creativity because I was quite hooked, like, yeah, I've got it sorted and I'm going to tick this off, tick that off. And then it has just evolved. Again, I think I just need to get back to grips on, I'm more comfortable now. I've gone for this kind of structured approach. So now I'm going to, you know, start ticking off that list of how I'm going to go about it and develop it. So yeah, right now, again, back to the brainstorming, it's probably a bit all over the place at the moment. It needs a little bit more structure to start getting to that. But in terms of, you know, a 5-year plan, let's say 2025 for me looks like that, back to that beginning, 10,000 people. And I will always keep mapping back to that in whatever way that be, whether it be, you know, motivational talks, TED Talks, potentially, programs, whatever way I can and touch and reach out to people and help anyone who resonates with anything that I've been talking about, or you know, happiness in any aspect at all. I'd just, yeah, that is the dream. Absolutely.
So if someone was starting on their happy journey, and I know it's obviously that's kind of what a coach does and brings you through it, but I mean, what are sort of some of the fundamental things they can look at and review or to take on board?
Don't want to use the word assessment, but it is really, where am I? Spending that time and really digging into, where am I at? You know, what's going on? Who am I spending my time with? What am I spending my time doing? Yeah, how do I feel? How do I wake up feeling? How do I go to bed feeling? What do I want more of? What do I want less of? Really assessing where you're at. And that's why I've talked a lot about kind of that reflection piece and disconnecting yourself from your phone, for example, because we just don't do it. We just fill every minute of every day with something. You know, a lot of people can't go on a run without listening to music. It's just like we never let our heads just like go. And then often your head's only running when your head hits the pillow and you're meant to be going to sleep. And that's no good either. So yeah, dedicating that time to doing that, because there is no point, like we said, about being in anticipation of those goals if you don't actually know where you are, because when you get to those goals, you're not going to know you're there either.
It is always interesting, you know, about you know, how you know when you've got to where you want to be as well. I find that interesting, you know, and how you know, and it's true. I mean, I'm as guilty as any, and I don't know what, but I mean, if I've not got music for running, I'm not running. So, you know, but again, it's I think it's possibly an age thing too, and I think it's an appreciation that I know fundamentally a lot of my core values are changing. I don't know why that's age. I think that's, you know, now I'm learning more than I ever have. So it's acceptance too, that actually it's enough to say I don't know.
Yeah,
and it's a journey too.
totally.
So it's,
and that is a constant assessment as well, Pete. In that, where you are now and where you want to go now is not necessarily where you'll want to go in 5 years, 10 years, whatever that may be. So that reflection isn't just for now. It's just making sure that you do that as you go on. It's all about growth, like you say.
Any book recommendations?
Ooh, I just finished. I'm currently on with Mindset by Carol Dweck. And the last book, The Girl Who Climbed Everest, Benita Norris, I think it is. And she was the youngest at her time of climbing it. She was the youngest girl to climb Everest. And that sparked some thought. You can have a goal like that and just smash it. The things you have to go through to get that, to get the funding to actually do it, blows your mind. It makes you feel inferior and realise that anything's possible.
Wow, I love it. There's so much great stuff there. So tell us, I mean, how can people reach out to you, Chloe? You know, where's the go-to for you?
Go-to, again, just starting out, but do have a website, so thehappinesshelper.co.uk. And if you want to get in touch directly, my email is chloe@thehappinesshelper.co.uk. And again, would love to connect. That's how you and I met Pete, on a virtual networking event. I'm just so happy to get in touch with anyone like-minded, and just even for a chat. That'd be awesome. Would love that.
So, in a few words, what's your fire in the belly?
Few words.
I normally ask people to refine it down to 1 or 2 words, so most people just completely take the mickey with it and go crazy, but
I'm going for it. Zest for life.
Like it. Difference between zest and happiness. Zest. Is there a connection? Is it one and the same?
Very similar, but more sparky.
I love it. Love it. Chloe, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for that. And listen, I'm looking forward to seeing where you go and, you know, the happiness project, the whole thing, you know, so that's what it's all about. So thank you again.
Thanks for having me, Pete. It's been great. Really enjoyed.
Thank you.